Little bit.
Welcome back to Little Bits of Language. Today we have a fun animated read aloud of a story in English. If you prefer lower sensory input or a bedtime read, we have a softer version available on our channel. Our read alouds are done by Aisha and I, co-founders of Little Bits of Language and fellow speech language pathologists. We love bringing our childhood language development expertise to you, one little bit at a time. Some little bits we'd like to share with you today are some reading tips to think about while you're listening to and watching this read aloud. You can also use some of these tips after the fact. The first one is to use WH questions. Again, you can use this during the story and ask, who is that? Where are they going? What are they doing? And you can ask those questions after the story as well. This will really help seal in details and information about the story. The second is to pause when needed, whether you're pausing the video here to wait before you go on to the next part of the story. If you're reading an actual book and you're just taking the time to process, hey, what's going on? Let's kind of rehash what's been going on in the story before moving on. Use pauses generously as much as you need them. The third thing is to relate the story to a child's real life as much as possible. Maybe you're reading a story about a character going to the park and you all just went the day before and you can talk about that. Oh, remember we did this yesterday too. We saw some of these things as well. Maybe there's slides and a swing and things like that. So that's important to relate to their own life. And the last big tip that we have for this one is to retell when you can. Maybe you're going to, in those pauses, you might retell something that just occurred, or you might read through the whole story and allow an opportunity to retell after the fact by flipping through the pages and just letting the child point and talk about the story. This will be really important to, again, seal in any of those details you've already talked about, review and think about the story events that took place, and that starts to help them form their own narratives and how to structure stories in the future. So make sure you use these tips as needed. We leave them there just as something to think about and then remind you of, but you're certainly welcome to do any of those at any time that they feel right, and as much as you need to. So now let's get into today's story.
The Surprise Garden. The Surprise Garden by Zoe Hall, illustrated by Shari Halpern. We're planting the seeds for a surprise garden. Can you guess what we will grow? We don't know. It's a surprise. First, we use our trowel and rake to loosen the soil. Mom has given us each a handful of all kinds of seeds. Look at all the different shapes and sizes. We poke the seeds into the soil one by one. We have painted sticks different colors to mark the different kinds of seeds. Then we water the seeds and wait for our surprise garden to grow. Soon, the seeds sprout into small green shoots. We water the plants and the sun warms them. Our garden grows and grows. On some plants, flowers bloom. Before long, the petals fall off. Surprise! We see peas, beans, and squash. On some plants, leaves grow close to the ground. Surprise! We see spinach and lettuce. And what is growing here? Surprise! We see broccoli and cauliflower. Is anything growing here? Surprise! We find carrots and radishes. They are growing under the ground. Here is the longest plant in our garden. Flowers bloomed on this plant too. Surprise! We find a big watermelon. Here is the tallest plant in our garden. Surprise! It's a sunflower and it is full of tasty seeds. All summer long, the food in our surprise garden ripens. We like to pick the food and eat it too. Surprise! We're having a garden party. What we grew in our surprise garden. These seeds grew into pea and bean plants. We eat the seeds and sometimes the pods of these plants. These tiny seeds grew into spinach and lettuce plants. The leaves are good to eat. These small seeds grew into broccoli and cauliflower plants. The parts we eat are really the flower buds. These tiny seeds grew into carrot and radish plants. We eat the roots that grow underground. These seeds grew into squash and watermelon plants. We eat these plants' fruits. This striped seed grew into a tall sunflower plant. We eat the seeds of the flower. The end.
What a great story, right? Now let's see how much everybody was paying attention. We're going to be putting up some questions that we as speech therapists use to check for understanding of the story. These questions can also be asked during the story, and you're welcome to do that when you watch the next read aloud, or if you want to stay tuned just after these questions show, there's going to be an opportunity to tell the story in your own words with a silent retell video. Now let's get into those questions. Good luck! Thank you so much for listening to today's story. Remember to like and subscribe to stay connected with us. We'll continue to post more videos with story read alouds, recommended toys for kids, speech therapy questions, and any topics or videos requested by you, our audience. Also, remember to check out our social media pages and our website, littlebitsoflanguage.com, for more content. See you soon.
Little bit.